The Great Candy War. The sound of battle echoed through the land as the plants and zombies clashed in a great fight for control of the candy. For years, the zombies had been the ones who held the candy in their grasp, enjoying its sweet taste and keeping it away from any other creature who sought to enjoy it. But that all changed when the plants decided to take a stand. Led by a brave sunflower, they marched in hordes to reclaim the candy that was rightfully theirs. The zombies were taken by surprise, and so the plants had the upper hand in the battle. The plants fought hard and long, using their roots to pull up the candy from the ground and their leaves to swat away the zombies. They were relentless, and soon the zombies were retreating, unable to stand up to the plants' strength. As the zombies retreated, the plants cheered, having finally taken back the candy that had been taken from them. The plants celebrated their victory, but the zombies had a plan. They snuck back in the night and stole the candy right back from the plants. The plants were in shock, and they could do nothing to stop the zombies from taking back the candy. The plants were furious and quickly called a meeting. They needed to come up with a plan to get the candy back. After much discussion, they decided to use their roots to dig deep underground and sneak up on the zombies from beneath. The plants dug for days, and when they finally reached the surface, they found the zombies feasting on the candy they had stolen. The plants were outraged and attacked the zombies with their leaves and roots. The zombies were taken by surprise and were soon retreating back into the night. The plants cheered with joy as they watched the zombies run away, and they quickly grabbed the candy and ran off with it. They had won the Great Candy War. The plants celebrated their victory and shared the candy amongst themselves. From then on, the plants and zombies lived in peace, never again fighting over the candy. The plants kept the candy in a secret location, hidden away from the zombies. They used it only when necessary, and when they did, they shared it amongst themselves. The plants and zombies now live in harmony, neither one ever trying to take the candy away from the other. They both know that the Great Candy War taught them a valuable lesson, that fighting is never the answer. Once upon a time, there was a group of happy little plants living in a peaceful garden. They were a close-knit group who enjoyed the sun and the soil, and they had everything they needed to live happy and healthy lives. One day, however, their peaceful existence was disrupted by a horde of zombies. The zombies were on a mission. They were looking for candy to bring to a party they were having. At first, the plants were confused. Why would the zombies want candy from them? But then they realized that the zombies were using their garden as a source to get the candy they needed. The plants were outraged. They had worked hard to cultivate their garden, and they didn't want to see it plundered by the zombies. So, they formed a plan to fight back. The plants agreed to hide in the soil and wait until the zombies were close enough to make their move. When the zombies entered the garden, the plants sprang out of the ground and attacked. The battle was fierce and it seemed like the plants had the upper hand. The zombies, however, were not to be underestimated. They fought back with the same ferocity that the plants had shown. The battle went back and forth until finally, the plants were able to overpower the zombies. The plants had won the battle, but they had paid a heavy price. Several of the plants had been injured or killed in the fight, and the garden had been damaged. Despite their victory, the plants were saddened by the loss of their friends. They decided to honor their fallen comrades by burying them in the same soil that had been their home. The plants also decided to use the candy they had taken from the zombies to hold a party. It was a way of celebrating their victory, and also of remembering the friends they had lost. The party was a huge success. The plants enjoyed the sweet taste of the candy, and the joy of being together. They recognized that the zombies had lost the battle, but they also saw that the zombies had not been completely defeated. The plants and the zombies had come to an understanding. The plants would be allowed to keep their garden, and the zombies would never come back to take the candy. The plants and the zombies lived in peace for many years. They learned to appreciate each other, and even shared occasional gifts. The battle between the plants and the zombies was a reminder of the power of friendship and understanding. The plants and the zombies both knew that they could never win a fight against each other, but they also knew that they could find a way to live in harmony. The plants and the zombies had found a way to share their garden and to enjoy the sweet taste of the candy without any more fighting. They had shown that even the most unlikely of adversaries could find a way to coexist peacefully. The sun was shining brightly on this crisp autumn morning, the leaves of the trees changing from lush green to vibrant oranges, yellows and reds. It was the perfect day for Halloween, and the plants of the small neighborhood were getting into the spirit. The pumpkins, corn stalks, and sunflowers all dressed up in their best costumes. Even the little saplings and baby shrubs had put on their tiny little hats and capes. It was a festive sight to behold. But the plants were not the only ones getting into the Halloween spirit that day. The zombies, who had been lurking around the neighborhood for months, had decided to join in the festivities. The zombies shuffled out from their hiding places, their rotting flesh and exposed bones illuminated by the sunlight. They were wearing their own makeshift costumes, made from bits and pieces of whatever they could scavenge from the nearby graveyard. The plants and zombies eyed each other warily, unsure of what to expect. Then one of the zombies stepped forward and cleared its throat. "Happy Halloween," it croaked in a raspy voice. The plants were taken aback. They had never seen or heard a zombie speak before. But after a few moments of stunned silence, the plants began to laugh. The zombie smiled in response, and soon the plants and zombies were in the middle of a lively conversation. They discussed the latest news from the graveyard, shared stories of their adventures, and even shared some of their favorite Halloween treats. The plants were amazed at how friendly the zombies were, and before they knew it, the sun had set and the night had arrived. The plants and zombies decided to take the party to the graveyard. They ran and danced through the gravestones, singing and laughing as they went. At one point, the plants stopped to pick some apples off the trees, and the zombies stopped to pick some mushrooms off the ground. They shared the apples and mushrooms with each other, and soon the entire graveyard was filled with the sounds of laughter and merriment. The night seemed to go on forever, and soon the sun was rising in the sky once again. The plants and zombies said their goodbyes and went their separate ways. The plants returned to their homes, exhausted but happy. They had made some new friends, and they had all enjoyed themselves immensely. The zombies, on the other hand, had a different kind of night. They had been welcomed and accepted by the plants, and they had finally felt like they belonged somewhere. The zombies spent the next few weeks telling all their friends about the wonderful evening they had spent with the plants. They were amazed at how kind and welcoming the plants had been, and how much fun they had had. The plants and zombies of the small neighborhood were now the best of friends, and they continued to celebrate Halloween every year. The pumpkins, corn stalks, and sunflowers still dressed up in their costumes, and the zombies still came out to join the party. They spent the night laughing, singing, and dancing around the gravestones, and sharing stories and treats. Halloween had become a time for the plants and zombies to come together and celebrate the friendship they had found in each other. The plants and zombies of the small neighborhood had found a way to come together, despite their differences. They had found a way to make the most of their Halloween celebrations, and to share in the joy and the memories. They had found a way to make Halloween a time of friendship and unity. And for that, they would always be grateful. It was a dark and spooky night, and the undead were out in full force. Halloween was always a special time of year for the zombies, a time when they could roam the streets and revel in their undead state. Tonight was no different. Zombies of all shapes and sizes were walking, crawling and shuffling their way through the streets of the small town. They were dressed in a variety of costumes, from classic monsters to more modern interpretations. With each step they took, an eerie moan filled the night air. But the zombies weren't the only ones out and about. Lurking in the shadows was an even more sinister presence. A strange green fog had descended upon the town, and it seemed to be emanating from a nearby cemetery. At first, the zombies paid the fog no mind. After all, it was Halloween, what better time to revel in death and decay? But as the night dragged on, the fog seemed to be getting thicker and more pervasive. Suddenly, the zombies sensed something was wrong. The fog wasn't just a mist, it was alive. It was moving, swirling around them like a living thing. As the zombies watched in stunned silence, the fog began to take shape. Slowly, a figure emerged from the mists. It was a giant plant, with huge leaves and a gnarled trunk. The plant seemed to be staring right at the zombies, its eyes glinting in the moonlight. The zombies were terrified. This plant was no ordinary weed, it was a powerful creature from beyond the grave. It was an ancient guardian, sent to protect the cemetery and its secrets. The zombies knew they had to do something, and fast. They had to act before the plant destroyed them all. The zombies devised a plan. They would use their undead strength to take on the plant. They would use their cunning to outsmart it. They would use their numbers to overwhelm it. The zombies charged forward, ready to take on the plant. But the plant was ready for them. Its vines shot out from its body, entangling the zombies in a web of thorns and roots. The zombies struggled against the plant, but it was too powerful. The plant then opened its mouth and unleashed a loud roar. The sound was so loud that it shook the very ground beneath the zombies' feet. The zombies ran for cover, but it was too late. The plant had won. The zombies were defeated. They had lost the battle, but in their defeat, they had gained a valuable lesson. They had learned to respect the power of the dead, and to never take them lightly. From that day on, the zombies of the town held a special place in their hearts for Halloween. They celebrated the holiday, as a reminder of their battle with the plant, and as a way to honor the dead. The plant, meanwhile, faded away into the shadows. It was never seen again, but its legend lived on in the stories of the town. The plant had taught the zombies a valuable lesson about respecting the power of the dead, and it was a lesson they would never forget. Happy Halloween! The plants and zombies have been best friends for centuries, ever since they first met in the garden warfare. They've stuck together through thick and thin, and have always celebrated special occasions with each other, such as Halloween. This Halloween was no different, with the plants and zombies deciding to take a trip back in time and visit different eras. They set off on a grand adventure, with the first stop being ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, the plants and zombies decided to hold a costume party. The zombies dressed up as mummies, while the plants dressed up as pharaohs. They had a blast, dancing and playing games until the night was over. Next, the plants and zombies stopped in the pirate seas, where they held a Halloween feast. The zombies dressed up as pirates, while the plants dressed up as mermaids and mermen. They feasted on delicious food and had a great time together. After that, they visited the Wild West, where they held a Halloween hoedown. The zombies dressed up as cowboys, while the plants dressed up as Native Americans. They danced and sang around a campfire until the night was over. The plants and zombies then ventured to the Frostbite Caves, where they held a Halloween ice skating party. The zombies dressed up as polar bears, while the plants dressed up as penguins. They skated around the frozen lake and had a great time. Next, they visited the Lost City, where they held a Halloween masquerade ball. The zombies dressed up as genies, while the plants dressed up as belly dancers. They danced until the night was over, and then went off to find more adventures. The plants and zombies then traveled to the far future, where they held a Halloween techno dance party. The zombies dressed up as robots, while the plants dressed up as aliens. They danced until the sun rose, and then went off to find more adventure. The plants and zombies then stopped in the Dark Ages, where they held a Halloween jousting tournament. The zombies dressed up as knights, while the plants dressed up as princesses. They cheered for their favorite jousters and had a great time. After that, they went to the Neon Mixtape Tour, where they held a Halloween concert. The zombies dressed up as rock stars, while the plants dressed up as hip-hop dancers. They rocked out until the night was over, and then went off to find more adventure. The plants and zombies then stopped in the Jurassic Marsh, where they held a Halloween fossil hunting party. The zombies dressed up as dinosaurs, while the plants dressed up as cavemen. They searched for fossils until the night was over, and then went off to find more adventures. Next, they visited the Big Wave Beach, where they held a Halloween surfing competition. The zombies dressed up as surfers, while the plants dressed up as beach babes. They surfed the waves until the night was over, and then went off to find more adventure. Finally, the plants and zombies returned to the present day, where they held a Halloween costume parade. The zombies dressed up as superheroes, while the plants dressed up as villains. They marched through the streets, showing off their costumes to the cheering crowd. When the parade was over, the plants and zombies said their goodbyes. They thanked each other for the wonderful time they had together, and for making this Halloween the best one ever. Soon, they all went their separate ways, looking forward to the next Halloween, when they would be reunited once again.